He is the professor, distinguished professor from the University of Kansas School of Education. And he wrote many books about education, like Side Effect of Education, what can happen to us if we educate our children too much. He wrote more than 30 books on that topics. So we can imagine what professional he is in that. Dear Professor Yong Chao, my first question to you. In one of your interviews, you said that we educate children, but in fact, the children who has the best scores in school, the best marks in school, they are not very happy in life. Let's say people who are the best students in Japan, in China, in Korea, they are the best in school, they are the best in the university, but later they are not the most happy people in the world. Maybe some students who are not that good, they're more happy. Can you please explain your theory? Why is that so? Of course, all of us, we think if you study the best, then you will have the best work, you will have more money, you will be happy, and you're the leader. But if you're studying not good, you're the loser. But your theory is saying something vice versa. Can you explain it, please?
Well, if first of all, that theory is from actually a lot of data. You know, the international test called PISA, a program for international students assessment, that's done every 3 years. If you look at the data, countries that score high, rank high, students are less happy, have less life satisfaction, have less confidence, enjoy the subjects less. So what you're talking about is that in schools, you know, you can have students pursue a narrow spectrum of knowledge and school subjects, but then they will lose what drives them, every individual human being. We call that self-determination. That is, you want to make a decision. It's your passion. Like you're making films, you're doing podcasts. It's because it's you choose to do this. And that choice is very important. If you're forced to do something, if you're forced to score high, no matter how much knowledge you have, you are not driven by yourself. So important thing is that the students have a choice, they pursue their passion and they pursue their innate knowledge, what you are good at.
You know, Professor, I think that it is almost impossible to do. I was working as a diplomat in Japan, and my first foreign language is Japanese. And I know how Japanese are so good in school, and their scores are incredibly high. You can never tell to any mama. You know, their mothers are so concerned about their kids. You can never tell to any Japanese mother the scores and the mark doesn't matter. Because as far as I know, the scores is the most important for their families. How can we teach our kids if you say that the scores and the marks are not that important? There is big contradiction.
Well, I don't aim to change the minds of everybody. But if you look at the future is basically this, is that when parents are trying to get their children get good marks in Japan, in China, in Hong Kong, in all those places, in Singapore, the idea is they want a better future for their children. So they believe the education system selects and rewards their children when they get better test scores, when they do better. But what if the system doesn't work anymore? What if with artificial intelligence, with technology, all the jobs you think you're getting by going to a good university are gone, replaced by machines or outsourced to other countries? What will your children do? So that's a big question. Yes, you are doing so well within the system, but what if the system disappears? I remember when I was growing up in China in the 1960s and 70s, you know, the country was just an agricultural country. Everybody in my village would say, you do this, you drive the water buffalo, you go plow. But I was horrible. Imagine if I just stayed there, I was doing that. I was really bad at farming. I will not be able to do what I am able to do. But then you look at China over the last 40 years, the farming has become much less important. So yes, you may be doing well. Just imagine in your village, you were doing a school. And if the village were a school, you would keep everybody doing farming. But it didn't work. You know, revolution happens. And we've seen a lot of revolutions that have taken place.
If this is a good thing, this is a good point, that definitely everybody is different. And you were saying in your interviews that if you want all your people work at the factory and they will be mediocrity, they will be all the same and they will doing cars, for example, at the factory, then it's a good system to make all of them the same. But unfortunately, all kids are different. Somebody likes music, somebody likes dancing, somebody likes poetry, somebody likes drawing, somebody likes physical exercises. You said our main problem that the kids are alive. They are not machines, they will not robots, they're not. So if you say the system is not working, so what you recommend to do? You will recommend for parents to forget about this. The scores, the marks.
What you said is actually beautiful. That's one of my big arguments is children are different. So if you are different, you should try to be the best of who you can be, right? If you're like music, you're like art, you're like all those things. And there's a lot of creativity. So I would encourage parents to focus on their children's ability, the children's interest, the children's talent, instead of trying to use schools, test scores to define them. Actually, what you said is really very interesting. Imagine if your child is very good at math, another child is good at music, another child is good at dancing. Now you put them all into schools. We want everybody to be good at math. But when you are talented in art or in dancing or in music, you are not talented in math. You spend the same time developing your math, but you will never be as good as that math person. So if we don't need a lot of human people to do certain jobs, then that person will get the best job. Your children will never be as good. But instead, if you focus on their music, they become the best they can be.
So your recommendation is to try to find out at the early stage who is the best at what, and then to make special schools where you can develop that, isn't it? Like, what is the solution for that? Because I imagine that a lot of people who are listening to you in China, they will not be agree with you, because they will say, for us, we are billiard of people. For us to survive, we should be the best in everything.
Well, that's impossible, right? If you think about it, the human reality is that human beings are different. Human beings have different resources. Human beings have different, even educational experiences. Yes, a lot of people don't agree with me. They say, oh, I want my child to go through this. But they will realize after a while, you can't do that. Your child is just becoming a loser compared to others. You want your children to be a winner in their own way. So that's the problem. I think many people refuse to accept that. When your child goes to kindergarten, oh, everybody's so happy. My child is this. But gradually they will say, well, it didn't work. Maybe only 5% will succeed in one way. But why do you get a 95% to go with the same direction? You should always find what your child is good, is talented, and is passionate about, instead of trying to be selected and defined by schools, because schools only focus on a few subjects.
Professor, tell me, please, you were saying that people in USA are the most confident. They're more confident than in Japan. They're more confident than in China. They are more confident than in Korea. And this level of confidence make them more happy. So what do you think? How to make people more confident? Is it possible in this pandemic reality?
Well, the big thing is that I think that we have come to a time with the pandemic, with the schools, is that the pandemic has forced us to rethink. I know not every country has experienced the same kind of pandemic spread, but it has disrupted education. It is very possible for individuals today, because of the pandemic, to be great, to do what they're interested in, because we have so much online activities, online resources. Like you and I were talking across the world. And this kind of thing can be a daily experience for every child. I just wrote a book called Learners Without Borders, that there's no border anymore in terms of learning. If you wish to learn something, you can. And the learning, on the internet is, God is everything, right? If you want to sewing, you can find sewing. If you want to learn to make clothes, you can make great clothes, and you can market that to everybody. So this has opened up a brand new possibilities many parents are not accepting for their children. They still think the local tiny school works. But you think your children go to local school. The teacher is specialized in certain domains. They are not opening your children's mind up to other possibilities. So COVID, the pandemic, has created great opportunities for us.
Professor, tell me please, like now I noticed that a lot of kids, even at the age of 5, I'm talking now, let's say, about Dubai and Kazakhstan, and I'm seeing them playing with their phones and doing some TikTok, but these kids are very, very small. They're 5, 6 years old. Don't you think that it will affect their mind and they will be not smart? Because if they will play with the phone from that early age, maybe they will be not able to read good, to analyze good, to write compositions. They will not become stupid. My question is it dangerous or not?
It is dangerous. I think that's why parents have to be mindful. I mean, accessing them is useful, but if you access them all the time, if you spend anything, all the time on one thing and not doing, what they're supposed to do, they should be analyzing the TikTok videos. They should have a critical eye of this. They can develop concept with that. So it is really, really the parents' job to guide their children to do more valuable things. A lot of TikTok, YouTube videos are useless, but they can be entertainment. This like used to watch TV, listen to the radio. But important thing is your children participating. Why can't your children be making those videos? Why can't your children make better videos? Why can't your children do? Reading is still important, but video is another form of literacy. Where are your children developing those? Are they connected? So we cannot just stay in the old times. We have to think about what can happen in the future, and your children develop and design their future. I think today a lot of children's mind are just blocked. They're going something popular, they're going something that's nice and easy, but they need to work hard. They can make videos, they can make friends, they can connect, but just to think about the learning is global.
I can hear, as my last question to you, Professor, I can hear that you're very positive, that you are positive for these gadgets. You think it's new opportunities and it's new way of education. It can make us global and you can get new knowledge. How to connect the old way when we were reading and dancing and we can work in the groups in the class with the universities, and the new way? Is it possible, or we should forget everything about universities, close them, and only study on Zoom and online? What is your opinion?
Well, I think the answer is this: it depends on your children, depends on who you are. Remember, we got 7 billion people. There's so many possibilities. So I would not say, well, forget about university, but some may like universities, some may not. Some may don't have to go to university. Some people may be creating new businesses for local. Some may be creating for global. And so I think it really depends on how you think about where your children are going. But the big question is really for me, for parents to ask, is that are their children engaged in activities that help them to become better in their own way, a unique way? Every child needs to become unique and great instead of trying to becoming like others. We try to become other people, but you can't. Schools, you can teach everybody to paint. I can force everyone to paint, but you cannot make everybody a Picasso. So that you got to understand, there's no one way of success. There are many ways, and today it's possible. I don't want to glorify gadgets, but these gadgets can be used more meaningfully for your children's learning.
Professor, you know, I like that you are being from China, which is a very traditional country for which traditions are very important. You are managing to modify it in a new way. And being professor for so many years in Kansas University, you sound very progressive, as if you are 25 years old. And that's amazing how you manage to connect the old school and the new approach. I think this is very precious. And I hope we can also use it for developing our children, our new universities, our new schools, and to using that chances. I'm really happy to meet you, Professor. Xie xie. I was
Thank you very much.
to talk
Buyurun Şeh.